Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. We're just letting industry participants in. Give us a few minutes. Thank you. Ntokozo, you'll just guide me when we can start.
What time is it? You can start at 5 past.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ntokozo, must I do the agenda or you're gonna do the house rules? Fine.
I was typing the house rules in the Q&A, but I can quickly just go through them. So, colleagues, the house rules are as follows. The chat section is disabled, and so are your mics. So if you do have any questions or queries, kindly pop them in the Q&A, and our colleagues will try to answer them as the program goes. Thank you.
Okay. We're on 9:05. Good morning, industry participants, and good morning to the SAHPRA team. My name is Tammy Gopal, the Chief Regulatory Officer for SAHPRA. Dr. Tumi Samete is currently engaged in another meeting, so she will join shortly, and she just asked me to chair just for the interim. Thank you for joining our RTF meeting for today, the 28th of August. If you missed what Ntokozo had said, please post your questions on the Q&A chat in the meantime. And as we go through the SAHPRA team members all on the call, and we have various representation from the units, they will respond to your queries. We will have a Q&A session towards the end of the program as well, a verbal, but in case there's no time, rather just type your comments and your questions in. We'll accommodate the COO, Ms. Kristalna, at 10 a.m. and then Ms. Daphne Fafudi at 11 a.m. There are other conflicting meetings, so they will come in at those specific times to do their presentations, so you can hold your questions at that point in time if you'd like. Thank you. So first on the agenda, we have Ms. Pratibha Subran. Please go ahead, Pratibha, with your presentation on the usual, the BAU applications and the variations update. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tammy. Morning, everyone. I'm Pratibha Subran. I'm the Senior Manager for Health Products Authorization. I hope you can see my slide. All right. So as usual, I'll be taking you through the business as usual statistics as well as updates from the units for new registrations, renewals, and variations. So that's all the units. All right. Okay, so a slide that everyone is familiar with. It is the estimated approval timelines, and it speaks to the new chemical entities, the biologicals, biosimilars, and generics. And here we are presenting to industry what SAHPRA is currently busy with in terms of the different groupings. So we start off with the new chemical entities, and we measure in terms of masters. The earliest group that we have in the system is Group 11, and that was received in January 2022 to March 2022. We are currently receiving applications in Group 25, and that grouping ends in September 2025. The estimated approval timelines for new chemical entities is 360 working days. And this timeline excludes the stop clock time or the time spent with the applicant, as well as the technical screening timeline. So colleagues, as you're aware, we are currently running a backlog project here at SAHPRA, and we've identified groups 15 and below for this backlog. Where we are now in terms of new chemical entities and the backlog, in Group 11, we are 60% finalized. In Group 12, we are 89% finalized. In Group 13, 60% finalized. Group 14, 67% finalized. And Group 15, 80% finalized. This does not imply that we are not working on groups that are higher up in the queue, so Group 16 to 25. We are currently spending 20% of our resources in these groupings, but 80% of our resources in the lower group, which is Group 15 and below. I will give you a more detailed update on the backlog a bit later on. Then we move on to the biologicals that are currently in the system. So the lowest group that we are working on is Group 12, and we are 83% finalized there. In Group 13, we are still to commence, Group 14 still to commence, and Group 15 still to commence. Biologicals are also at an estimated approval timeline of 360 working days, excluding stop clock time, which is time spent with the applicant, as well as technical screening time. Then we move on to the biosimilars. Here, the earliest application that we have in the system is a Group 2 application. This is an application that was received in 2019. And this is a high priority for us, but this also does involve a site inspection. So hence the reason why it's still in the system. We are 67% finalized there. In Group 13, we are 75% finalized. And in Group 15, we are 0% finalized. Biosimilars also track at 360 working days, and that excludes the time spent with the applicant as well as the technical screening time. We have now included a new slide. It's called the generics with clinical data. The reason why we've split generics into generics with clinical data and then the plain generics is these applications include a module 5 and take a bit longer to review. And this now falls under the 360 working day timeline. The earliest application we have in the system is Group 11. We are 89% finalized there. In Group 13, we are 57% finalized. Group 14, 33% finalized, and Group 15, 29% finalized. And then we move on to generics, which is where we have the most number of applications that we're working on. Generics track at an estimated approval timeline of 250 working days. The earliest application we have in the system is in Group 9. We are 98% finalized in Group 9. In Group 10, we are 96% finalized. Group 11, 89% finalized. Group 12, 80% finalized. Group 13, 58% finalized. Group 14, 45% finalized. And Group 15, 46% finalized. Just some general updates from the HPA unit. In terms of the general information guideline, we are in our final stages of review, and this will be published for comment to industry. There will be a 4-week turnaround for the comments to be received back into SAHPRA. So as I mentioned, it's in the final stages of review. So please look out for this guideline on the SAHPRA's website in the coming week. Then in terms of the technical screening checklist, again, we're in the final stages of review. We're actually just doing some touch-ups today, and this will then be published for use in industry from the 1st of October 2025. The reason for the 1st of October 2025 is to coincide with the commence of the new groupings that we will be receiving from the 1st of October, and that will be Group 26. All right, then to talk about the actual backlog that we're working on, which is groups below 15. So if you recall, we started a project in September 2024 with 521 masters that we had ring-fenced from groups 15 and below. We had broken it down into 1 to 4 units pending, which is 466 masters, and then 55 masters where longer delays were expected, and the 55 masters related to inspections that needed to be done on site, as well as those generics with clinical data. All right, so this is where we are as of today. So in August, we now have 160 masters with 1 to 4 units pending and 18 masters with longer delays expected. We are still on track to complete this project at the end of October 2025. We are maintaining a run rate of around 50 masters per month. We did have a bit of a dip with regards to the receipt of responses via the portal, and that is currently being worked on a case-by-case basis. We have already commenced the next phase of the backlog project, which will be the inclusion of group 16, 17, 18, 19, and now we will also be including 20 and 21. And we've identified a 2-step phased approach for this, and this will be discussed in a later RTF. We do have an established rhythm and momentum for this backlog. The framework has become predictable for us, and now it's just maintaining the process that we have identified and the way forward. Right, we now move on to the renewals update for BAU. So this is the overall status for phases 1 to 3. There are 144 applications in progress, and 128 applications have been approved. This equates to 272 masters. How is it breaking up in terms of the general updates within the different steps in renewals? For screening queries, there are 58 applications. There are 25 applications in evaluation in progress and 61 with evaluation query. Now, the reason why the numbers are fairly high under screening query and evaluation query was due to the fact that the portal was issuing a payment for renewal responses. This isn't the case. This, what we have noticed, that it has been corrected by the developers. So we are now starting to receive those responses for both the screenings and the evaluations, and it's now business as usual again in the renewals unit. Just some general updates from the unit. applicants to ensure that the PIPIL has aligned to the latest version of the guideline, and that is in terms of reporting of the adverse events. Again, I have to mention there must be no payment or no sales order being generated for renewal responses. We note that this has been corrected. However, if applicants are still seeing this, please raise your query with portal.data@sahpra.org.za. All right, we then move on to the PEM, post-registration updates. So in terms of the current status for quality variations, and this is for applications received from April 2025, just in terms of the various statuses, what has been approved. In terms of responses, it's 24 applications. 40 type 1As have been approved, 7 type 1Bs, and 1 type 2. Allocation pending, there are 61 responses, 159 type 1As, 117 type 1Bs, and 27 type 2s. And then I won't go through the other statuses, but it's here for you just to note. I've mentioned just the main one, which is the approvals and then the allocations pending. So the PEM unit is currently running a backlog on type 1As and type 1B variations that are still in the system. In terms of the type 1A applications and data as of August 2025, the unit has ring-fenced all type 1A applications that were still in the system that needed an evaluation and a review. They had identified a total of 4,543 variations type 1A, and that equated to 941 applications. In process is 1,042 variations, and that equates to 199 applications. What hasn't been started is 1,764 variations, which is 408 applications. And what has been completed to date? 1,737 variations type 1A, which is 334 applications. The target for the clearance of these type 1A backlogs is March 2026. The unit is currently assessing applications that were received in July 2024 for type 1A applications. Then to the backlog of the type 1B applications, and this is data as of August 2025. There are a total of 1,588 variations type 1B that were received, 870, and that equates to 870 applications. In process are 416 variations type 1B, which is 238 applications. Not yet started by the unit is 556 variations, which is 318 applications. And what has been completed to date? 616 variations, and that is 314 applications. The unit are currently assessing type 1B applications that were received in July 2024, and the target date for completion of the type 1B backlog is March 2026. Just some updates from the unit in terms of guidelines and communications. There is an ongoing project in the unit which involves all PEM post-registration and quality variation communications being consolidated into one guideline. This will be published to industry for comment by the end of August, and there is a 1-month comment period. And thereafter, we will finalize based on the comments that we receive and then publish the final communication to industry. We do have a working group RTF, and there have been queries from this RTF that we need to communicate to the wider audience today. This is with regards to queries on the requirements for signed documentation. To note that this is a GMP requirement. Specifications and reports must be signed, dated, and version controlled. Electronic signatures will be accepted. In terms of BMRs, this has been a requirement since 2019, and it's also included in the General Information Guideline. All documentation must be submitted in English language. Now we move on to the clinical unit post-registration update. With regards to clinical type 2, the overall summary, and this is data pulled as of the 20th of August 2025, there are 32 applications awaiting allocation. 20 are evaluation in progress, 20 have been rejected in screening, and 56 are in query to the applicant. 2 have been approved. So 130 type 2 applications are in progress at the moment. In terms of evaluation status for type 2 variations, the total received is 130 since from October to last year to August 2025. 6 are in backlog, 78 are in process, and 60% output from the unit. In terms of type 1 variations, 594 have been received from February 2025 to August 2025. 100 of these applications are beyond 60 working days, and they are considered in backlog. And 344 are in process, and the output is at 58%. And then in terms of responses, we have 80 in total received between October 2024 and August 2025. 19 are in backlog, 48 are in process, and there's a 60% output from the unit. In terms of the feedback that we have received from the working group RTF, and to bring it to the wider group today, with regards to implementation timelines, applicants may implement type 1 variations after the 37 and 67 working day timeline has passed. SAHPRA may still not approve these post-evaluation if requirements have not been met. So you can implement, but the SAHPRA will be reviewing, and there can be a non-approval after that review. In terms of submission rules, no parallel submissions are being accepted by the clinical unit. Currently, the response rounds are limited to 3. Thereafter, the variation will be rejected, and this includes type 2. Further resubmissions require a payment of fees. From a regulatory perspective, the variations unit maintains the product life cycle. Requirements evolve. Guidelines are guidance documents only, and they are not exhaustive of all requirements. Clinical requirements may differ from pre-registration due to updates and evaluating context. We've brought in the use of old medicines being used as reference products, and this is for the CDPs when registering a new generic. So there has been a call-up on old medicines that were still not registered, but only recorded by SAHPRA, and hence not evaluated for safety, quality, and efficacy. Please note, highlighted here, the use of unregistered old medicines alone as a reference product to compile the PI will not be accepted. The application must be accompanied by documentary evidence of safety and efficacy to evaluate and determine whether the product is safe and effective for the proposed dosage in the proposed population. This evidence must also support the therapeutic indication for which the applicant intends to market the product. So just a note to applicants, if you are confused or if you need some further feedback, please reach out to HPA. We will direct your query with regards to the use of all medicines as a reference product. Right, then we move on to naming and scheduling. An update from the unit with regards to guidelines currently being updated. There is an update underway for the application rescheduling of substances and medicines, the guideline for scheduling of substances and medicines, the guideline for proprietary names of medicines, and then the scheduling of substance for prescribing by authorized prescribers other than medical practitioners or dentists. All applicable fees are as per the latest fees gazette. In terms of a stats update, as of July 2025, the unit has a total number of 14 applications. They've completed 5. 4 of these are in evaluation query. 2 are in process, none have been finalized, and 1 still to be allocated. Then we move on to the biologics unit, variations update. In terms of the biologic variations finalized between April to July 2025, for type 1As in April, 3 were finalized, in May 7, in June 8, and in July 23. And that's type 1As. For type 1Bs, in April, 2 were finalized, in May 1, in June 3, and in July 25. And then for type 2s, for finalizations in April, there were 7, in May 16, in June 16, and in July 11. And then responses finalized in April were 5, in May 22, in June 7, and in July 6. Biologics unit is also running a backlog project. They've ring-fenced backlogs until the 31st of March 2025. They have identified a total of 80 type 1As and 140 type 1Bs, and they are currently running at different statuses. Now, these were due for finalization by the 31st of March 2025. These are the backlogs that were ring-fenced. Now, this project will ensure that all applications received up until this date are being prioritized, and the particular focus for the unit will be on allocations for review. A dedicated team has been assigned to this task. The project officially commenced in August 2025 with the processing of these backlogs that have been identified in the biologics unit. And we will definitely keep you up to date at the next RTFs, both at the working group as well as the CEO's RTF. Then finally, we'll go into the Inspectorate Type 1 variation status updates. We'll start off with the project that's being run on the DVP submissions for Type 1. Initial backlog in DVP, there were 2,627 applications. And what is remaining, as in identified from the DVP, 1,448. What has been submitted on the SAHPRA engagement portal, and this is from April 2025 to date, is 147. And total of type 1 variations not started for evaluation as yet is 1,595. All right, so in 2022-2023, what hasn't been started is 564 of those applications. 2023-2024, 645, and 2024-2025 is 239 applications still to go. Right, in terms of Inspectorate Type 2 variation statuses, in terms of number of applications received in April 2025, there were 8. Number of applications completed were 3, and number of applications still outstanding is 5. In May, number of applications received was 46, number of applications completed 10, and number of applications still outstanding 36. And then in June, number of applications received was 36, number of applications completed was 0, number of applications outstanding was 36, and then for a total completed in Q1, because that is how we measure at SAHPRA, there were 57 applications completed at the end of Q1. And then in July, the total number of applications received were 18. 7 of these applications have been completed and 11 are still outstanding. And then that brings us to the end of the BAU updates for the different units, including new medicines and renewals. And I'll answer the questions in the Q&A. Thank you. Over to you, Tammy. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Pratibha. Thanks, colleagues. I can see the questions coming through on the chat. And Suraya, I see you are responding. There are questions related to the portal. Pratibha, if you are able to answer, or else COO may answer when she arrives. I just want to reiterate a few points in the presentation. On the variations guideline, it is in review at the moment. So we will be taking the we will be circulating that for comment around the beginning of September. You will see, I think one of the questions that came from industry is on the strategies for the backlog when it comes to variations. And with PM post-reg, the process has kicked off, and the team is targeting those 1As and 1Bs to clear by March 26. So industry will get recommendations or approvals on the 1As and 1Bs over the next few months. Biologicals variations, there's also a project plan in place, and we have just kicked off that to address the 1As and 1Bs. With Inspectorate, we will be kicking off our plan soon. You must have seen the expression of interest for external evaluators, and we are in that process of finalizing. So that process will kick off by September to address the variations. So if we can just go, team, please look at the questions in the chat. Thank you very much, Surya. The rest of the team, SAHPRA team, please go ahead and answer the questions in the chat. I'm going to take the next presentation and then address a few questions in the chat. Thank you. I think we have Inspectorate, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Mr. Motsatela, please go ahead. Mr. Samu Motsatela?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead with your item.
Just check. Just hold on for a minute. Sorry, ma'am. Which item is that, by the way?
It's the item on the escalations, the inspectorate queries, and the item on the escalations. If you
Okay.
can just project here.
I think Ratiba, I think I forwarded to you. Or must I put it on again?
Some of you have it. Please project it in the meantime. I don't want to waste any time. Dr. Alice, are you ready with your discussion point? Let's take 3 and we'll come back to Mr. Mochitela.
Yes. Hello. Good morning. Can you
Thank
hear
you.
me?
Yes, we can. Dr. Alice.
Yeah. I will just project, but I will do a lot more talking today. I don't.
No problem. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
from
We
the
can see your slide.
Yeah. So from our side, it's just a few updates that we have, and the first one I want to talk to is harmonization initiatives in veterinary medicines
Dr. Alice.
regulation. Hi.
Dr. Alice, sorry, can you just
Yeah.
please put on presentation mode? Thank you.
Are you okay now? Yes, thank you. So
Thank
the
you.
first item I wanted to update industry on is on harmonization initiatives in the veterinary medicines regulation arena. I think I've spoken to the fact that we are standing members in the VICH, which is, counterpart of ICH for the human medicines. And the objectives are well known, that we are trying to harmonize technical requirements for veterinary product registration. And our next meeting will be held in November 2025 in the US. So our standing members, our founding members are US, Japan, and Europe, and the alternate hosting of meetings. Coming to Zazibona, which is our regional initiative, we are working together, and the countries that are put up there, Botswana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, Tanzania, and Zambia, are the most active in terms of piloting the project. And we have regular meetings almost on a monthly basis to discuss these technical requirements and try and harmonize them. So what we're trying to do is to reduce timelines for registration of veterinary medicinal products, and also try and see if we can register or approve products together. So far, the only agents which has facilitated our training is the UK Veterinary Medicines Directorate. And in terms of progress, we had first and second pilot phases held, and these were on small molecules only. We received 27 applications so far in those pilot phases. 10 were accepted for joint assessments, and our first joint assessment was held in Lusaka from 24 to 28 February this year. Of those 10 applications accepted, unfortunately, 3 of them were withdrawn by applicants after the first recommendations went out, and 7 applications were so poorly compiled that we ended up rejecting them. Now, we are actually learning a lot from what happened in first and second pilot phase in terms of dossier quality and the readiness of our industry to submit compliant dossiers. And we are planning to have a workshop to try and find out exactly what the problems are. I know the standard is the bar is quite high, raised for these joint assessments, and it appears most of our applicants are still struggling with some of the requirements. So we need to thresh that one out so that we don't end up with withdrawals and rejections like what happened in the first and second phase. In phase 3, we are now working on biological medicines guidelines and templates, and we hope to complete all these by end of this quarter and publish them for comment from industry. We wish to finalize those guidelines and templates by quarter 3. So what we have done is met and looked at the different agencies' guidelines in CTD format, and the formats that they are using. And we have agreed on one format, but we still have to, work with the industry on that as well. And we hope to publish the first expression of interest for biologicals by the 4th quarter. We've had quite a number of inquiries with regards to them. So there's a need for an industry workshop to improve compliance with technical requirements and streamlining of our processes. We had quite a number of extensions, and we feel something is wrong with our timelines. Either there's something wrong with our timelines, or the industry is just not well versed with our requirements. One thing I thought I should take an opportunity on with regards, because we are in this forum meeting today, is to communicate to our applicants to please comply with our response timelines. I've highlighted them in red, and please use the vetqueries@sahpra.org.za email when you are sending these queries, and try and comply with the turnaround times, because these are impacting on our registration timelines. Okay, now one of the special projects that we are embarking on in the unit is the regulation of antimicrobials in South Africa. I've presented this before because we have dual registration system between us, Act 101 and Act 36. But we have really made some progress. And after all these discussions with our stakeholders, first with our board, and then Act 36, and then the MAC AMRA team then, which existed then, we then met our Minister of Health, and after his recommendation to meet the DG of Agriculture, we had a meeting on 7 March, and a task team was formed, and the recommendations from the task team and the terms of reference were drawn up on the 31st of March. We are still waiting for the next meeting to finalize these terms of reference, but it's coming soon, we hope, so that we can move forward. But I want to also congratulate our industry for the work they are already doing. They've started having workshops on AMR, and they are very well attended by all the stakeholders. And we have also noted that our industry has involved apart from the regulators, they've also involved academia. And I think this kind of relationship should be maintained, because this is exactly what the task team is looking for: collaboration between the stakeholders. We will expand, though, the participation, including our farmers too. Parallel to this as well, I would like to also mention that we are engaging with Department of Veterinary Public Health in Agriculture. They've invited us to meetings and workshops which were initiated between them and the Danish government. I think you all remember that this whole issue of antimicrobial resistance and IMU was I think the best example we have is what the Danish government did. And what they are trying to do now is try to work with South Africa. And they've been holding collaboration workshops with us since November 2024. And what they want to do in the next meeting is to showcase their production systems without the use of growth promoters and routine use of antibiotics. This is something which we're trying to fight, and it's very difficult to change someone's mindset when they are used to using antibiotics prophylactically and also these growth promoters. So we want to learn from the Danish government how they did this. So our next meeting is coming next week with the Danish government, and they've invited us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alice. I think we have quite a few queries on the chat, nothing related to vet that I can pick up, Dr. Alice, so thank you for your presentation. The queries on the portal, as I mentioned, we will take at 10 a.m. when the COO joins. Mr. Samu Mochitela, if you can just get your presentation ready.
It is ready.
Oh, perfect, thank you. I just want to there's a question here on parallel submissions when it comes to clinical. Luleka, can you answer that one on the chat, please?
Answering, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think Dr. Alice, let me ask you this question. There's a question on vet. What is the approach to vet compounding on a larger scale?
So, am I audible? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely not acceptable, because we are now bordering on manufacturing. And this is something which is being discussed internally, and we will be updating our industry soon. I know the industry has written before to ask this question, and we are working on it. Maybe they should just be a bit patient. Maybe in the next meeting, we'll report back on that one. But we are aware that we have a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is Mashlodi on the... Yes, Mashlodi, if you can also take some of the questions on the chat on pre-reg clinical, please. And I'll just keep monitoring that we do get the majority of these questions answered. Regarding a question here, Samuel, I'm not sure if this is in your area. Is there any progress on the guidelines for warehousing raw materials? It's a question from Lorraine, if you're able to answer.
There was a guideline that has been done especially for the APIs, that is the warehousing of APIs, raw material, even in excipients. I think that guideline, I think Jerry and Karen were working on it. I'm not sure if it's been finalized. I'll just double check if it's been finalized.
Okay, thank you very much. That will be an action we will take back and follow up on. Please go ahead with your presentation and we'll come back to the questions.
Thank you, Chair. These are the inspection queries that we're getting from the date of 20/08/2025. Then the number of queries that we are receiving is the absence of the GMP certificate, absence of the inspection report for reliance, absence of ECP, proposed APIs not included in the certificate, and industry knows that we only allow 2 queries. The GMP certificate that are not from the reliance partner, the expired GMP certificate, and incorrect dosage GMP certificate is used. And also we find it a lot during variation as well as in pre-registration. So the challenges that we have, it's resources, but the mitigation that we did is recruitment of 6 external evaluators. The process is still on the way. Normally with the queries, because of now we find them, they're all over. For the applicants, please, these are the query areas where you can send the queries. If it's a query regarding new product registration, you use pre-reg status update at SAHPRA.org.za. For GMP and CPP certificate, it's inspectsec at SAHPRA.org.za. For PITE's application, it's PITE application at SAHPRA.org.za. For once-off deviation, it's once-off deviation at SAHPRA.org.za. And then for the inspections, which is the Inspectorate, SAHPRA.org.za. Also, people must be aware now. I think we are receiving quite a number of enforcement actions. And this leads to that where we stop certain manufacturing activity. And this is a very concern for public health medicine. I think this is a problem that industry needs to be able to work with. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mochitela. I'm actually going to go into the questions now so the teams can respond. And Tukozo, kindly signal to me when the COO joins, but in the next 10 minutes, I just want to go quickly through some of the questions on the chat. Pratiba, are some of these portal questions, shall we pause for the COO? Are you able to answer them?
Tammy. Dealing with them in the, can you hear me?
In the
I'm
chat.
dealing with them in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of them are related to consolidated query lists that have not been responded to in over a month. Fees being generated for relinquishing sequences for transfer of applicancies that should not be happening. Renewals, I mentioned that it was rectified on the portal, but I've just seen a comment from another applicant that it's still generating. So it's things we are familiar with. Maybe Christella will speak more to it when she's on the call, but I'm trying to get through as many that I can manage in the Q&A. So perhaps maybe deal with the other ones. I'll see what I can and what I can't answer. So go for it, Tammy.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna work from the top down, assuming the team is working bottom up. There's a question here on the backlog build-up that the regulatory fees have in a lot of activities quadrupled, and some activities which never had fees have huge fees, which industry has accepted with the hope that these fees will go towards funding optimal human or technical resources for better and quicker turnaround times. We are instead accumulating unreasonable backlogs, which are negatively impacting access to medicines, notwithstanding that you I assume SAHPRA, have introduced a lot new great processes, but seemingly with less resources. What is the authority going to remedy this apparent situation? Thank you for the question. Most certainly, with an introduction of a system comes its various challenges. We have presented this morning on the backlog on group 15 and below, and then with the clearance by October. I saw another question on the inspectorate being the area with the major backlog. I'm just going to answer that while answering Eric's question. So based on the expression of interest that we put out for external evaluators, we want to use our these evaluators to also address the backlog in Inspectorate. So having said that, we've put action plans in place for the variations for biologicals, for Inspectorate, and then for PM, as well as for new products. So, I mean, there is a plan in place for all of them. There are efficiencies being made slowly as we have started the financial year. And Eric, I mean, definitely with the new system came some of the challenges which we are addressing simultaneously. As a question on the portal, I'm going to skip. Vet has been answered. Thank you, Surya, for responding. Mashlodi has responded on the question for pre-reg clinical. Thank you. The team is actually answering the questions that as I'm going through them. Is the COO on the call as yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Then I will suggest, Dr. Kaiser, if you can just get ready, I might call on you in the next 2 minutes. We will unmute towards the end of the RTF to take verbal questions. Okay, thank you. I see the team is responding to the questions. The questions related to the portal is the one that is the majority. Go ahead, Dr. Kaiser.
Thanks, Chair. I need clarity. Are you calling me to answer a question or to address the matters on the agenda?
Matters on the agenda, please. Thank you, Kaiser.
All right, thanks, Chair. From the complementary medicine side, there are 2 matters on the agenda. One is the status of the regulations for complementary medicines. So we presented that the last time, or we updated industry in our last meetings, including our working group meetings, that the regulations are currently with the Department of Health. Initially, they were pending the minister's approval and for publication for implementation. But there has been a request for the conduct of the socio-economic impact assessment study, which SAHPRA has started initiating consultative process and engaging experts in the field. So the process currently is still internal, but once that discussion with the experts in the field has unfolded, then the study will be conducted and the feedback will be provided on the basis of what the outcome of the study is. That's the first matter, Chair. Can I go to the second one?
Yes, thank you very much.
Now, the second matter relates to the long-standing issue on the requirement of a responsible pharmacist to oversee activities pertaining to complementary medicines manufacturing side, as well as importing or wholesaling sites. There has been a lot of engagement on the matter, and SAHPRA still emphasized that the outcome of the discussion, because the matter resides with the Minister of Health, the outcome of the decision of whether the responsible pharmacist or responsible person should be the relevant person to oversee complementary medicines entities still resides with the minister. However, in order for SAHPRA to still be able to function and be able to support industry in their requests and applications, SAHPRA has taken a support for the current process of seeking enforcement of Regulation 23(2)A insofar as the requirement for responsible pharmacist is for the complementary medicines manufacturing entities. So a communication to industry was shared, I think, on Monday, on the position of SAHPRA to still support the use of Regulation 23(2)A in this matter, and it will be considered if the minister comes up with a different position on the matter, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. There is a question here specifically for complementary medicines. Where can we see statistics of Category D licenses issued? Dr. Tembo?
On the SAHPRA portal, there is a register of approved entities and products which we are putting up on the website. Yes, we may be delayed because of other issues, but SAHPRA is working towards improving the system such that it is going to be updated on a monthly or quarterly basis. But the statistics of all approved, not all, but approved entities is on the website. And from the last working group meeting, we undertook that we will also seek to publish information that may not yet be on the website through the CAMS working group platform. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. There was another question for complementary. What is being done with complementary medicines containing scheduled substances and making medicinal claims, such as N-acetylcysteine?
Most of these products that contain scheduled substances come in and claims to be a supplement. And in most cases, we engage those particular importers or applicants to bring to their attention that products containing scheduled substances may already be called up for registration, and we always refer them to the relevant and relevant process to follow. Because if you look at supplements, for example, they can only be Schedule 0. But what we have been recently seeing is products that are even containing substances that are in Schedule 1 and 2. And such products cannot be considered complementary medicine. But should it be brought to our attention, we always engage and even refer them to the relevant process to follow.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Tembo. Another question on Annexure Bs that have been submitted between 21 and 2023, but the applicant has not received any feedback, and they are have been following up. Can we give them any feedback on this?
The issue of Annexure B, Chair, it's a little bit of a dicey process. If regard has to what the actual purpose of Annexure B is. Annexure Bs are intended for motivation of a particular substance to be included in the guidelines. Now, I needed to bring this up, and I've always been saying this. It should not be a platform to enable importation of products. It is a process by which a substance is motivated to be included in the guidelines. Now, we look at a number of factors insofar as the impact of Annexure Bs on the process. Firstly, the legal advice we're receiving is that we still have the regulation pending. And the regulation gives effects to what is to happen underneath them. Below the regulations are guidelines. Below the guidelines are SOPs. Now, the reason why Annexure Bs have not been communicated, unless those that were immediately rejected on screening for the reasons that were given to individual applicants. Some of these Annexure Bs have the potential of influencing amendment to the guidelines, which means the moment an Annexure B is reviewed, recommended, it has to go into the guideline and that guideline has to be communicated. So we have been engaging internally to say, do we communicate? What is the effect of communicating while the guideline is still pending? And we cannot even publish the guideline for public comment while the regulation is still ongoing. So that discussion, Chair, is still ongoing internally. And as soon as I receive guidance from the legal people, we will communicate. But the reason why we have not been communicating the outcomes of Annexure Bs is solely because they have the potential to change the guideline. And if that is the case, are we in a position to can immediately publish that guideline while we still have other dependencies? But from the last CAMS working group meeting, we undertook that we will provisionally put up a notice or publication of all the substances that we reviewed and have been recommended to be included, and those that have been refused. So the unit is busy from the last CAMS working group meeting, compiling that list, which we're going to make available by latest next week.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tembo. Ntokozo and Mukona, is COO on the call as yet, or can I continue?
She's on the call, ma'am.
Yes,
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I'll pause here. There's quite a few questions for complementary and inspectorate. Dr. Kaiser and Mr. Samu, if you can just start commenting on those questions. Otherwise, I will raise those unanswered questions towards the end. Over to you, COO.
Thanks, Tamish. I don't know if you guys wanted to take the questions first. If not, I'm happy then maybe just to do a quick recap from the ICT side. If you'll allow me just to quickly open up the presentation, I can take us through that. Sorry, let me just load that quickly.
Thanks, Christelle. I'm happy to, after your presentation, to read the questions to you to make it easy, and then you can answer. I know you have limited time on this call.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Just waiting for the presentation to load. Just give me a shout as soon as you can see that.
Perfect, we see it.
All right, great. Let me just open it up from my side. Okay. So just then an update in terms of where we are with the digitalization, and I think specifically just talking to the SAHPRA portal today. So we have started 1 April with the go live. I think initially we had rolled out all of the processes for new applications, variations, as well as renewals. However, during the month of April, there were numerous challenges, and as a result, we then decided to only proceed with the new applications and baseline submissions. And we had done some further work on the variations and renewals work streams based on some of the feedback that we collected over the month of April and early in May. So we had that period of concurrent submission through manual FTP, which unfortunately brought with it its own data challenges. And when we then reactivated the variations and renewals applications on the 23rd of June, we then discontinued the manual submissions done through FTP due to all of the challenges that it was causing. So I think we also at that point then enabled a new mailbox around about mid-July. And that also as a result of some of the activities that we saw on the initial mailbox, it almost got to a point where it was reacting, in spamming trends, because we had numerous requests coming through, follow on, within very short succession of time, and that unfortunately congested that mailbox to quite a significant extent. So we then communicated just a different way to submit those queries so that we can, again, in a consolidated way, try and understand what the different challenges are that each company was facing. A lot of these things were consistent themes across many companies. And then there were also anomalies that we found that differed from company to company to company. And this also enabled us then to take a more holistic view in terms of where the pain points and the challenges were. We also were fortunate enough that we finally have a new application support specialist that also joined the ICT team, beefing up then the support structure within SAHPRA. One candidate started 1 July, one August. And that also has added some extra capacity in terms of us now working through the support mailbox and clearing some of these queries. But for the main thematic areas that were then identified, we also then did a further development on the portal, which is the health checker tool, which we then deployed at the start of August. And we also have been doing push communications via the portal to applicants with regular updates in terms of the specific pain points, also to alert you when a specific pain point has been addressed, so that you can then also recheck any of your query items to see if they have now been resolved. The queries, as I said, that are non-thematic or unique company by company, the support team is continuously working through those. We have had quite a number of engagements with certain applicants where we did need to actually reach out for more information. But we do this when necessary, as of course this also consumes quite a lot of time and takes the team away from clearing queries. I think some of the information just in terms of the enhancements that have been done with regards to the health checker tool. The main themes that we've identified is just the issue with duplicate submission numbers. And again, this has a lot to do with legacy data misalignment between the DocuBridge system and the portal system, where unique records, and I think some of the applicants that we've worked with would obviously understand when I talk about, all of your attributes are very similar, except that for some of the manual trigger files that were submitted through the manual FTP process, certain incorrect parameter fields in terms of related sequence information was added. And as a result, it started to see those as unique records and started creating then these duplicate submissions. So quite a bit of work has been done to clear out the duplicate submissions through the health checker. We also have duplicate sequences that was corrected, duplication of application IDs, all then relating to this issue where the record it appeared to be no longer unique, and therefore, duplications were created. We also have had some challenges with invalid submission number formats, where there were errors again on the manual trigger files that were submitted in that manual FTP upload period, that also now after the fact had to be corrected. We still have and have had some empty submissions that was created, and it appeared to have been then abandoned in process because there was no further sequence information created. Those have, to a large extent, been cleared out. We have also implemented a process where some of the application IDs have been dropped back down to legacy for applicants to then assist with completing capturing of critical data that is required for us then to process fee calculations. These would typically include your submission types, submission leads, evaluation paths, and some of the INN information. We also have had quite a lot of data points where invalid list values were still captured. So this again, just the difference between, the old manual trigger file information and what actually is on the submission matrix or the reference tools that we've got on ECTD, where incorrect values are populated, and as a result, then it shows as an invalid list value. I think there are a few other issues, but as I said, these mostly relate to legacy data or manual submissions. And if I just go through then to the next slide. Sorry. So I think, yeah, I mean, I've largely covered this, but for that cycle 1 release of the health checker tool, I mean, we initially started with 18,441 data point errors. And after the first cycle of the health checker tool running through and doing some of the auto corrections, that reduced that number to 3,258 incorrect data points. So as we said, a lot of this had to do with legacy data imports, that import-export tool, where some of the data just then got skewed or disconnected. And also just, yeah, some challenges with the old manual trigger files, where there were some formatting challenges that caused some of these issues. So it has definitely then caused some frustrations just with the inability for the applicants to proceed with their submissions. Also then causing some failures in terms of generating that pricing calculation or the order form calculation due to either missing information or incorrect field values. And also then some data validation errors that obviously prevents you from proceeding until the correct information has been updated. So cycle 1 has proved to be quite successful. We then moved through to the cycle 2, 3, 4, and 5 enhancements of the health checker. And these then largely focused on addressing some of the duplicate application ID issues, duplicate strengths. And we also then picked up some queries that were raised by a number of applicants on their TOAs. So this also just aligning the processes with the HPA colleagues and with the DocuBridge colleagues, making sure that information is then correctly reflected so that all TOAs then are available for the acquirings to proceed with variations. And for any of the relinquishing that has been submitted, that goes through the approvals process and feeds back from DocuBridge then to the portal so that it is available for the acquirings to pick up and then process their baseline submissions and so forth. For cycle 3, we also then looked at just correcting some of the data, again, legacy data and the way we used to submit things, and the groupings that was not entirely consistent with the ECTD 3.1. So that also is something that we had to then do a manual correction or intervention for, in order for those applications to no longer be bottlenecked and for applicants then to proceed. We also looked quite a bit at the flow of information. I think in the previous webinar, I did just sensitize industry to the fact that information needs to be available on DocuBridge in order for that to reflect on the portal. So if a sequence is not necessarily available on the portal, we have to check DocuBridge first. If the sequence is in DocuBridge, we then do the meta sync back to the portal in order for that information to be updated. However, if that sequence is then not in DocuBridge, we then have the missing sequence that needs to be resubmitted with a request then to ectd.validations@sahpra.org.za to then do that manual upload for older missing information. I think we did mention we tried to do 2 rounds of cleanup for missing sequences earlier this year, February, March. And then obviously also during post-portal go live in that period where we had the manual FTP submissions open. It still seems that there are applicants where missing sequences have not yet been submitted. And we are in a process at the moment, and I'll talk to that a little bit in the next steps as well, to try and do that through a 3rd and final round of correction. but I will cover that, I think, in the last slide. So also for cycle 4, we then completed or changed where incomplete draft applications was reopened, so that applicants in fact could then complete all of the information, the missing information. So there was a bug in the system that prevented applicants actually going back into their drafts and completing some of the information that was still outstanding. That was then addressed in the cycle 4 update. We also then did the release of the updated variation pricing calculation. That was on the 22nd of August. And also from a finance and industry feedback perspective, we also then did a change on the payment reference numbers, so that there's a specific prefix and then sequential numbering format for each transactional value that then assists with the payment reference numbers that should be used going forward. Just a very important note on that, we obviously do understand that some of the payments that may have been requested from your finance departments is obviously going to come back from your finance teams with the original payment reference number as it was. We have also, from a portal perspective, then accommodated for a additional field which our payment administrator now has access to, so that it doesn't cause any challenges in terms of payment approval. We are allowed to then capture that information so that it is easy for the finance colleagues to do the reconciliation in this interim period, as we are then phasing in the changed payment reference numbers, so as to avoid any unnecessary dispute of payment and payment reference numbers, and also to avoid then flooding our finance team with refund requests. So that has been accommodated for, and we'll be working with the HPA team and the Section 21 teams just to make sure that we don't cause any unnecessary wobbles there. Right, and then just on the next slide, so here just talking a little bit about activities for then the September to November period. I think the one thing that we need to do is just look at the complete submission bundles, the alignment basically that is required between the DocuBridge system and the portal system. And colleagues, I think, again, just from a legacy data perspective, as those things came out of the legacy SAHPRA system, the previous information management system, and we moved over to DocuBridge, we literally brought that information across, as it were. We have done 2 rounds of trying to correct the data and bring the right sequences into the right submission bundles. And by that, I mean, if you had a type 2 variation that was submitted as submission number X, and you then had all of your different sequences, obviously your initial sequence, perhaps there was a response 1 and a response 2 sequence, maybe there was some supplementary information, that those 2 or 3 sequences then sits within the same submission number. And this, because of the lack of granularity in the previous IMS system, was not fully visible. And what you've also have noted then on your PDF summary is that sometimes you've got a sequence living in a different submission, almost as if it's living in its own submission, and that needs to be brought back under that submission bundle. And this becomes really quite important when you're trying to do responses on that submission, because you want to make sure that it's seen as a response 1 or response 2, and you can only select that once you go back into the submission and then create that as part of that particular bundle's transactional data. So we have a process now between the DocuBridge team and the portal team where we're doing the data extracts and comparisons. We're going to try and correct that manually as much as we can, up to the point where we then do not have adequate information to clean any of the remaining data. And what we'll do then is, and this is what I spoke to, this third and final round of data cleansing to help us bring this legacy data into final alignment before the end of the year. Because again, with the legacy data, this really affects the platform stability. So the sooner we can do this, the better, I think, for the performance of the system. We'll be doing that Excel data extracts. So there again, it would look quite similar to what we had on the export-import tool, just a full comprehensive dump of the application ID, the application numbers, and then the different sequences that we have, and the data in terms of, what the related sequence number is that we have on there. And this will require then quite a bit of scrutiny just to make sure that the sequences that relates to each other then sits in the same submission. So if there's corrections, and some of this we've done with some of the applicants now already on some of the calls that we've had, but this allows us then to also go into a bulk fix mode so that we can try and bring the right things into the right bundles. We will be sharing out then the Excel extracts after we've done our internal alignment on the 15th of September. So that we can then request applicants to feed back to us on these Excel templates, all of the changed values that needs to be applied into DocuBridge in order for us to then push back the corrected information into the portal so it's visible from the portal perspective side. So we will request that those responses then be submitted according to a specific roster. So we'll also just draw up and communicate a roster on the 15th of September, just to indicate which applicants' sheets needs to be submitted back on which days. And that allows the support specialists just to apply themselves and do then the corrections as these lists come in so that we can complete them, finalize them, and move on to the next company and the next company. And the intention would be to correct the lists and also to provide another opportunity for missing legacy sequences then to be submitted through a manual FTP upload process, with then a request with the old trigger file that gets emailed through to ectt.validations@sahpra.org.za to then request that the manual upload for application ID so and so and so, sequence number this, that, and the other, then please be manually imported into DocuBridge through this request to ectt.validations, so that we can then complete any of the outstanding information that is still needed in DB in order for us to then reflect that information on the portal. And this we are aiming to complete then before the end of November this year, so that in December we can do that final reconciliation and make sure that we are where we want to be, so that we go into January with hopefully a much cleaner slate. We also just then request for applicants, I think specifically from my finance colleagues' side, the request that all of the prepayments that has been made in the past, we've seen quite a number of refund requests coming through now, where payments have been made in 2021, 2022, and applications in fact have not been submitted yet. So we have been carrying that in deferred revenue for quite a number of financial periods, which is obviously problematic for SAHPRA from an audit perspective. And we need to now push also for this last cleanup. So if you still have any payments sitting with us with incorrect payment reference numbers or incorrect values because of these payments being made in prior financial periods, we have until the end of November for you to submit those refund requests to our finance team. After the end of November, we will not be processing any of those prepayments as refunds anymore. We know that's a process that should really not have been followed, and we encourage you now to help us clean this up so that we can also reduce the number of deferred payments that we've got that we have to reflect and report on to AGSA. So quite a bit that then remains for us to do over September, October, and November. And I think we obviously will just continue with the push communication that we do send through from a portal perspective to keep everybody updated in terms of progress and things that we do that hopefully will then get us to a point of stabilization on the platform. Tammy, I think that's all that I want to share, maybe just from my side. Perhaps if you maybe just want to share some of those questions, I can try and talk to them now, or otherwise just make a note and we can obviously address them also in some of the push comms. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christelna. There's quite a few questions. I kind of will summarize some of them, but I will shoot and you can just answer for me, please. So regarding the failed validation reports, the automator email is not being received. So the question is, maybe as part of data cleansing or streamlining the project, consider to add the validation report under the affected sequence in the view documents instead of emailing the validation report to the applicant. Any comment on that?
Yeah, certainly. We're talking about two different systems. The automator validation report comes from DocuBridge, and it will continue to come from DocuBridge. We have not altered or changed that process as it's one of the process automations that is part of the Lawrence DocuBridge software. So that will continue to be sent out to the applicants to the email addresses that then obviously been specified when you create that sequence and submit that FTP trigger file through the portal process. So we're not bringing that information back into DocuBridge. The process that applicants had been following to address with their ECTD validation failures in terms of the troubleshooting, looking at the report that gets sent and then addressing and fixing the errors and then re-uploading the ECTD. Coming back to portal and then doing the confirm FTP is quite important. I think I did mention that there were some work activities that we completed in terms of that flow of information between DocuBridge and the portal, because I think on that point, perhaps maybe it wasn't expressly asked, but there were a few challenges that we picked up with different applicants where the validation failure didn't re-enable that confirm FTP upload button. And that has been debugged in the meantime. So I think we have resolved probably about 90-95% of the issues with confirm FTP being then enabled. So you can actually click confirm FTP once you've corrected your ECTD and re-uploaded it. But if there are still some remaining items, our new application support person has now been trained and is able to resolve that quite quickly. But yeah, I mean, it will then continue to come from the DocuBridge system. We won't be pulling that, not for the immediate, into the portal. At a future point, we could possibly look at that enhancement, but I think our focus at this point is rather on stabilization. And we certainly hope that in January we can start looking at tackling some of the enhancement items. Thanks, Tammy.
Okay, thanks, Christelna. Then on the submission lead, 2 questions on that. Can it be actually made editable? Because when unable to fix this field when it moves back to legacy, and then it prevents the upload to FTP.
That's actually a very good question. Let me just type this up. I'm making a note of that. I'm going to have a quick chat with the development team after this. I mean, even from my side, when Aubrey and I are busy with queries, that is also something we cannot do from the system admin screen. So we normally have to ask the colleague to do that in the back end. I'm definitely going to request for us to create functionality so that that can be updated. It's a very, very good question, and we'll definitely make work of that as soon as possible. Hopefully we can get that release out in the next couple of days.
Thank you very much. Then quite a few applicants are supporting this question here on the variation bundling. 3 type 1As, 2 1Bs, and 1 type 2 is not practical. Please reconsider. This creates immense workload and change control impact for industry and also for SAHPRA. In many cases, one full variation filing has to be split into 5 or 10 up to 20 applications.
Yeah, Tammy, so I mean, the bundling has been like that since bundling was introduced, I don't know, 2021. And unfortunately, it isn't something where industry has supported the way that bundling has been described from a Gazette perspective. And through the portal mechanism, we are now, kind of applying those very hard rules to say, look, this is the way that bundling has been described in the Gazette. This is the way that those applications or submissions, rather, let's call it submissions, needs to be created. And that's unfortunately not something we can move away from. Because as I've previously explained, it's important for us to have that visibility in terms of the number of changes that comes in a submission to the work streams in order for us to do proper resource planning to make sure that we account very clearly for the work volume that comes into the SAHPRA environment and is allocated to specific colleagues to clear, and that we then have some reasonability in terms of, a submission with this number of type 1A changes, it's subject to that 30-day turnaround time. Or a submission with 2 type 1B changes is then subject to that 67-day turnaround time. But if we have these huge cluster bombs come in, it's very difficult then for us to create visibility and transparency on reporting of meeting timelines, because an application could potentially have 20 changes or 11 changes, and you don't see that. And that then causes unnecessary frustration, both from an industry side as to questions being raised as to why we have a apparent backlog. But it is because we've got these large changes coming in, and we're not seeing really how long it actually takes us to then get through all of those changes. But the teams, when they did the bundling logic, we had 30 days attached to 3 1As and 60 days attached to 2 1Bs. And that's how we then set the timelines down. And now we are saying, please comply with the bundling numbers so that it allows us to work through that in a more systematic way to support the SAHPRA process and make sure that we have transparency around resource consumption and turnaround times. So that unfortunately for those kind of submissions will remain as has been described in the Gazette. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Christelna. There's quite a few queries on the portal support. Some applicants, they have responded in June with no feedback over the last 3 weeks. So they are finding it a challenge. I'm not sure how we address that. As well as just one more tagging on that is if a date is set by which the legacy data should be updated, can we request that the portal team actually respond to issues or queries that is prohibiting the applicant from updating these legacy applications?
Yeah, Tammy, certainly. I mean, as I've mentioned, we have one resource that started on the 1st of July, one resource that started in the 1st of August. And I think both those individuals are starting to get up to speed in terms of assisting us to work through the support queries. And as I said, primarily, we have been trying to address issues that were affecting a large number of applicants in a bulk way, so that we can, unblock the bottleneck for a large number of applicants with, similar issues and so on. And where we are now, basically from about the last week and a half, is we're able to go back to some of the queries that we've got and look then at what issues remain that are unique or anomalous that were not attended to by these bulk fixes, so that we can then start clearing these within the next 6 weeks. So that definitely is the intention, is to try and clear out now these remaining queries. And as I said, we will share out communication also with our applicants to request that they then have a look once we've now applied all of these bulk fixes and all of these changes through cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What remains after you've checked because we've also attended to some of these queries where it was actually resolved, and our applicant team members just have not gone back in to see whether or not those things have been resolved. If there are items that are still stuck, I think what we can do is then request that we get those queries again in a consolidated way, come back in with then just an indication in the subject text that this is, post the health checker tool, remaining queries, so that those ones we can then target through to Aubrey and Voyiswa to attend to as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks, Christelna. Then the next question, the submission type for line extension for new applications is not available for selection.
I can check that.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that, but I can certainly make a note and check that. Sorry, you said it's the
line extension for the new
extension.
application. It's reflecting as a subtype 14 or delinking of application. And if applicants try to update it when the application is in legacy, there is no correct option to select.
Jai, can you maybe just let me know who our applicant is that raised the query, so I can just go back to them individually on that issue?
Okay,
It's one of those anomalous ones. Yeah.
Franz Lombard, and I'm not sure which applicant this is. Franz, if you can just type in the chat the applicant, and then Christelna will get back to you. Quite a few applicants are supporting the next question on timelines for payment is 3 days from the time of request. Is that too short, and what happens when the time lapses?
Yeah, so I think when the portal went live, so 3 days, I'm not sure in terms of us now expecting payment, proof of payment to be uploaded. I don't think so, unless that is a misnomer on the order form, which is then just a template issue that we can change. I believe the timeline from an HPA guidelines perspective, Pratibha just needs to correct me, but I think it's 10 business days or 14 business days, if she can just confirm.
Confirmed, COO, confirmed.
It's 14 days or 10 days?
It's 10.
10, there we go. So it's 10 business days. So Tammy, if there is a misnomer, if they can maybe also just clarify that in the chat. Is it something that appears somewhere on the portal where it says 3 days instead of 10 business days? I would appreciate it if they could just let me know where we've got the misstatement, and then we'll certainly correct it. But yeah, I mean, the guideline timeline is the one that is in play. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm seeing there were 1 or 2 questions regarding the application number changing. Let me read this one to you. I have a question regarding uploading the baseline for a product. We tried to upload a baseline for an approved product as per the release notes using the application number of the product, and the portal removed that number and replaced it with a new application number that is not associated with the product. Will this happen in every case or still in development stage?
Again, I'm not sure what process the colleague followed, because if you create the baseline, you then will get an application ID if this is the first time that you submit that baseline. Otherwise, if they're doing a mid-life cycle baseline, that process, I think we just need to check with Pratibha and Madeleine. But for a new baseline where we previously haven't received as an ECDD, the system will create an application ID, and then your application numbers you are using or have used are the ones that you need to populate in order to link it to the application ID. So if something else has happened, then I would need to just find out from the applicant what exactly they did or what process they followed, because that doesn't sound exactly right. And all of the other baseline requests that we've received that has come in, that would, we haven't had that kind of question before. So definitely, if you can maybe just let me know who that person is, so we can also just go back to them.
Okay, it's Merle Sher. Merle, if you can maybe send your query to Christelna, if that's okay, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks. And then she can give you more feedback on that email. Another
Perfect.
question applicants are supporting is we still have incorrect invoices, request to delete a sequence, incorrect clone application numbers, and renewal uploads that have been queried since June, and there's no responses. I know you mentioned that with the new application support specialist, this should be rectified in the next few weeks. Am I right? Chris, you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, just if there are still issues that we haven't resolved through the health checker tool and through the bulk fixes, perhaps, again, just because we also have now, kind of seen 2, 3, 4 versions of lists come through. Again, it would be helpful maybe then post the health checker. These are the remaining issues in the subject text, so that we can ask Aubrey just to look out for the emails with that kind of subject text. And we'll try and prioritize them, specifically when it comes to deleting of sequences. It is very, very quick to do, but it's obviously just helping everybody to delete all of the sequences that was accidentally created, just because of volume. It does take a little bit of time to get through. And then some of the other issues, Tammy, you said they were what? So we've got deleting duplicate sequences.
Incorrect clone application numbers and renewal uploads.
Okay, so not quite sure what the renewal upload challenge is. Maybe the person that asked that question can just be more clear around what their particular issue is. If it's, that the sequence isn't there, or they're having issues with validation errors, it's a bit difficult. It's just too broad for me to understand what the problem is.
What the issue is.
But in terms of incorrect clone numbers, that also, if the colleague can then maybe just, if there's a particular person that you want to call out clone number issue, if you can let me know who that is, then we can also get somebody to contact them. That also sounds weird.
Yeah, it's Ronelle Lakey. Ronelle, if you can send your query through to Christelna with the detail required. Chris, how much time do you have left? There's a lot of questions.
Look, I mean, let's try and cover maybe a few more. If I can just pop off the call, let's say at about 5 to 11, so I can just rejoin the conference at 11. That would be great. But we can go until then.
Yeah, I think because we're ahead of our agenda, and I think it's important we address then these portal queries. Thanks. Let's push on. So where a TFA relinquishing was submitted in June 25 with XML file compiled by the applicant when the old procedure had to be followed, and the application is still showing on the relinquishing applicant's profile, who should we contact to move it over to the acquiring applicant?
That would be going through to HPA, because if it was submitted manually and that relinquishing sequence has not yet been changed to approved status on DocuBridge, that then means it won't feed through to the portal under the acquiring person's CIPC. So I hope and I trust that the correct CIPC number for the acquiring company was then populated. Or otherwise we need to just do the set change from an HPA perspective. But I mean, it's all DocuBridge driven. So if it was submitted manually through FTP and there was a positive validation outcome, meaning we did receive the sequence and it is actually in DocuBridge, then the data attributes needs to be changed by our HPA colleagues on DocuBridge in order for that to come back to portal. So that would be the route I would recommend, that they just reach out with the inquiry to our HPA team.
Okay, perfect. And then next question, is it possible to consolidate the 1As and 1ARNs quality codes in the portal to allow us to submit these together when the submission contains up to 3 codes? We are currently submitting these as grouped quality variations because the specific pick lists do not include all the required codes.
Yeah, so codes that are 1A is linked to submission type for 1A, and codes that are 1AIN is linked to submission type for 1AIN. It's not really a decision I can make. I would need to engage with the colleagues internally to inquire with them whether or not we would want to bring 1A and 1AIN under one submission type. However, I would imagine that there's a technical reason why the colleagues split 1A and 1AIN in the first place. So I would not be recommending that we now start bringing those things back under one umbrella. Applicants would then need to proceed to submit them as a group variation quality then if they bring in two different variation types. So yeah, unless there is some thoughts from a core technical team side, but otherwise I would recommend that we just have an internal reflection and discussion on this. I imagine there was a reason why we split it in the first place. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Soraya, do you want to comment on that point?
Yes, I can briefly comment about the 1A and the 1AIN. We consider them to be having different risk. That is why we have separated out the 1AIN, and it might be a bit difficult to incorporate them into one submission type unless you get permission first for group variation at the moment.
Yeah, so Tammy, that I think answers the question. So we will not consider bringing those things under one place. If they do need to submit them, it's then considered a group variation as per Soraya's guidance. There's a reason for us splitting that.
Thanks. Thank you. Quite a few applicants supported the next comment. Can SAHPRA schedule more ICT digital workshops and SAHPRA portal trainings, as it seems that the portal changes are made and instead of clearing new issues, new technical issues are experienced. These workshops, webinars will address the current portal issues as a work in progress. We acknowledge the work done SAHPRA, and it is clear that it is a way forward. This may take time, but we need to look at the way to correct the issues more effectively.
Tammy, yeah, so I think that certainly sounds like a good suggestion. I mean, probably one of the things I would say is like we really have been working quite hard to kind of get to a place where we have actually some bandwidth and airtime to release people then to do, updates to the training guidances. But I like the suggestion that maybe what it should do is rather take the form of kind of like a short little webinar training session on specific themes or topics. I'd be happy for maybe the different industry associations, perhaps if they could maybe make some suggestions in terms of what themes or topics colleagues would like us to try and address in these little webinar training sessions. That would be very helpful. It could then steer us in terms of, what are the things that people would like to know about most. And then we can definitely start setting up little training sessions or doing more videos to then support industry, just with, navigating the system and also, learning to understand the new technology a little bit better. We acknowledge, it's a brand new system and it's going to take a little bit of time for people to understand all of the navigation and where to go to do what. So yeah, we're very happy to support in that way. But I think it would be helpful if they could suggest some topics or themes. Otherwise, we might target something which is not really what the industry is struggling with. So, yeah, if the associations could assist us in collating that suggestions and maybe letting me know, we definitely will start setting those up for sure.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. And the RTF BAU variations workshop working group meeting was held last Friday and I attended. I know that the working group wanted to submit a list of queries on the portal. So if I can ask the working group, I think from the industry side, it was Ingrid and Momina, if they can just bulk up the portal queries email to include a list of themes. Can have a look at it and we can start initiating these webinars and they can send it to you. Thanks for that, Chris. So portal query, can we be given the ability to delete sequences if they are generated in error? The deletion of these take very long when we can simply delete these ourselves. Look, the question is quite lengthy, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah. So I think the short answer is no, we would not do that because there is a specific process that we have to follow by checking DocuBridge first. Because if a sequence exists in DocuBridge, we will not be deleting it in the portal. So you know, from a governance perspective, there is a double check against the DocuBridge system. The only reason why we've implemented this is because there were unfortunately some perhaps maybe accidental changes that was brought about by the export-import tool, where things were taken off that shouldn't have been taken off, and it then caused some misalignment issues between DocuBridge and the portal. And we're just trying to avoid that. We're trying to move forward with cleaner data sets. And I think what again might be helpful is if there is deleting of sequences that needs to be done. I am again going to suggest that when you submit a query to portal.data in the subject text, just bring me all of the ones that is just deleting sequences, and then make that the subject text that says deleting sequences, because those are very quick for us to get through, and I can actually have one person just sit and do that the whole day. It does move very quickly, but obviously as they come in with some of the other consolidated issues, you know, we work through the full list of the issues, and then eventually when you get to the, you know, bit where you have to delete sequences, yes, it does take a little bit of time. So I can definitely put that offer out to applicants if they just want to focus on, hey, these are the ones that we want to delete. Just send me that data, and then I can get Aubrey and Vuyiswa to work on that for the next 3-4 business days, so that we can try and clear all of those out for our applicants, and then go back to working on the other queries that have been submitted. I don't know if that's maybe a workable option for the colleagues, if they want to take us up on that. I can brief my team to look out for the subject text delete sequences, and we can jump on those quite quickly.
Okay, thanks then, Christelna, for that. Regarding the addition of the variation codes for biologicals, they're not able to submit biological submissions due to the absence of the variation codes. Christelna, I know biologicals has updated. Is there more required from my area, from my unit? Is there something to help them?
I don't know. You know, I think, and again, maybe if the variations working group wants to take on this, we've obviously received a list of codes to be added that came from the internal business colleagues. That codes or those codes have been added, but I do see on our portal support mailbox we sometimes get a request for a particular code which we don't have. And then usually we would try and engage also then with the internal colleagues first, just to make sure that, you know, yes, it's the correct code. What is this? What is the description? You know, and what kind of submission lead we must attach to it. But I think if, again, we can try and just get to, instead of me receiving these one by one, perhaps if the working group can help us then put whatever they believe is still missing together, we can then take that consolidated suggested list, run that through our core team for vetting. And once it's vetted, we obviously can add them onto the portal variations pricing schedule for sure. But that probably would be the best and structured way to do it, because the one by one, you know, it's also it's a 1-1 email I have to send to the units, and I know they also quite inundated. So yeah, I mean, if we can ask them to help us with that, that definitely would move things along quite nicely.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I just get a thumbs up that the working group is represented here from industry? So we know that these you are in on this and will be actioning. The variations working group, the RTF BAU variations working group from industry, are you represented? If you can just put your thumbs up. I'm not seeing any. Oh, there we go. Okay, Ingrid, Prakash. Okay, there are a few. Ingrid, I'm sure you've heard some of the comments, and I think the next action item is if you can consolidate what variation codes are missing and not necessarily related to biologicals, and then send that through when you're sending us the list of the portal issues and the themes for webinars. Thank you. There was a question here on good accounting practice. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it and then I'll come back to it. Okay, I think some of the questions are being repeated now. Again, sequences deleted. Tell me, Christella, if some of these questions are not answered, I'm assuming Ntokozo is able to download all of these Q&As, right? And send it to your office.
I assume so, but
you
yeah,
can.
I mean, yeah, so I don't know if it's repeat, again, as I said, I won't be answering it again because once, it's been asked and answered, I would rather just refer them back to the webinar or the recording. But if it's something new, we can certainly look at it.
Okay, I think, colleagues, I think we seems to have, how can we follow up on an application that has been submitted 10 years ago, but still not called up for registration?
Huh?
Yeah, I'm not
Wait,
following
just
that
read that
one.
again, Tammy.
How can we follow up on an application that has been submitted 10 years ago, but still not called up for registration? I'm not sure I understand this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this person is referring to something that was part of the backlog process, that process has come and gone. So, I mean, I think applicants were given an opportunity to, look and resubmit all of those applications as part of the backlog project. And that opportunity has since then gone. So if you haven't heard back from us, then it was because that application was not part of the backlog project because it wasn't resubmitted when that call-up was issued. So I would suggest that the applicant then follows the process where they actually make a new submission.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to find the question on good accounting practices where I think one of the applicants said that their company does not want it to be called a sales order, but rather an invoice. I hope I'm paraphrasing. I can't find it now. I've lost it.
Yeah, it's because the things that we produce in the portal is not invoices. It is actually sales orders, and that is actually quite an acceptable accounting practice. The invoices would be generated from a Sage system perspective, and we basically create. I suppose you can call it a sales requisition, or in this case, we call it a sales order. In order for them to request payment. And it certainly is been accepted by large number of other applicants. So I think, yeah, that's something that company internally needs to resolve.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think, Kristalna, we'll let you go. I do see a hand, but we're not unmuting at this point. We did say if the colleagues can maybe send the email through to portal support where we do see resolutions that's going to happen sooner rather than later because of the additional staff. And if the working group can help to consolidate some of these queries for us, and then we can address it. But I think you've answered most of them. Thank you, Kristalna. We can release you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you very much, colleagues. Good luck for the rest of the session. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye. I think we're going to go next into Lydia. Do we have Daphne here? Is Mohadi Fafudi here? Has she joined?
No, she's not, Tammy. She's at the NAP meeting that's taking place here in person.
Oh, thanks, Dr.
So I'm not sure if there's someone from her team that will step in for her.
She did say she could join us at tea time at 11. That's why I was wondering if she was here. Dr. Tumi, you want to carry on to chair?
No, please do. You're doing an excellent job. You know how it goes. When you do well, we give you more. I'll ask Simpiwe to just check with Daphne, then I'll put a comment on whether she'll join or not.
Okay, thanks. Dr. Tumi, any words from you, or are you still going to stay till the end?
I'll comment at the end. I'm here. I'll stay till the end.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, I see quite a few questions on Inspectorate. I'm going to review them in the meantime, and I hope Samu has answered. If not, I will take them during the Q&A. Lydia, can you go ahead with your presentation on the medical devices and IVDs? Dr. Dimakatsu is traveling, so Miss Lydia is standing in for her.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lydia Mutlogelwa. I'm the Medical Device Registration and Clinical Manager. With the first point regarding the regulation, my update is same as the CAMS one, where there is a socio-economic impact assessment that needs to be done as per NDOH request for the regulations, which is a regulatory impact assessment. However, in the meantime, internally, we did share the regulation with the Office of the CEO and CRO, where we have a few questions from those offices that the the team is addressing internally. That will be all for the revised regulation that were published on the 25th of August 2023. And then the roadmap, let me share. I've got 2 slides on that. I'm sorry about that. So when we look at the roadmap regarding feasibility study on product registration, if we look starting with the engagement of the industry and then publishing the expression of interest, we have completed that. And in what is in progress now, we are screening, accepting. We started with screening and acceptance of applicant to the study. We trained the participants on submission on portal, and then we started training our internal evaluators on evaluation. Then we want to start to screening the submission as we started receiving them. The closing date for submission of technical dossiers for feasibility study was the 28th of February. So we're continuing right now. What is in progress to date is screening, reviewing, and evaluation of the technical dossier. There are to and fro between ourselves and the participants, depending on how they have submitted in the right format or not, and challenges that they are facing. We are communicating and engaging as we go along. And then when we look at what we are doing as we continuing screening, reviewing, and evaluation of this technical dossier, we have an outcome report that we have indicated during our webinar from the onset of our feasibility study as we engage the industry. So we are updating the outcome report as part of the outcome that we have indicated to in the industry. So we are hoping to finalize the preliminary report within this our financial year of 2025, 2026, and then we will be at the point where we will have the updated our draft working guidelines and finalize them, not yet to be published, for comments. However, in the end, we're gonna publish for comments for the whole industry to comment regardless if they participated on the study, as we have indicated during our webinar. So when we look at what we have been doing in terms of technical review outcome as of the 31st of July 2025, we expected from the expression of interest, let me say first, our target was to have 32 dossiers to review for both IVD and non-IVD. However, through our expression of interest, we expected 22 products. As we know in the study, there will be those that will withdraw or some challenges during the study. We end up receiving 17 technical dossiers of products for both IVD and non-IVD. So far, we have managed to approve 11 products, and all of these 11 products was to the reliance process. And then we have 6 that are in progress. I must say we didn't have enough technical dossier coming for a local manufacturer. Hence, we engage a few of the local manufacturers based on what was submitted on their license. So we are expecting, hence I didn't put it here. We are expecting at least 3 technical dossiers from the local manufacturers that we have engaged. And that's all from feasibility study roadmap. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lydia. I'm just looking if there are any questions for you. I see the team, Kani, has answered 1 or 2 of them. I don't understand this question. Have the applicants submitted proof of compliance with the essential principles of safety and performance? The question looks incomplete. I don't understand that. Lydia, I'm not sure if you understand it.
I'll leave that to Kanyisile if she understands as she goes through the part of the technical dossier review. But from what is required, is part of the we are using the table of content as we are a member of IMDRF. That is part of what is required in the technical dossier, which I believe there is no way that we can review a technical dossier that is not compliant to the essential principle of safety and performance of medical devices, as is part of the document that we put on the expression of interest as a working document, guidance for the applicants.
Thank you.
And then I would like to also indicate that when we look at the time frame, is 2 to 3 months, including both stop and start. And the challenges that we're facing is not submitting in the correct format, and some of the applicants not being, which are non-responsive, which put us to a point where we have to indicate that they might be excluded from the study. However, we need both industry, we need one another in this study. Thank you.
Okay. Then Lydia, a question here is, will the feasibility study be concluded by end of September as indicated? And the next question is, was a call made for industry associations for local manufacturers? How was the engagement done? I think you can answer the second question as well.
in terms of it being concluded by the end of September, it will actually depend on the submission that we are expecting from the local manufacturer. We haven't received that yet. And then it will also depend on how the submission is made. Like I always, I have indicated that there is a challenge in terms of industry being ready to submit in terms of the table of content, but we work together with them to make them ready as they submit. What was the second question again, CRO?
The second one is, was a call made for industry associations for local manufacturers?
Oh, that one, we didn't do an expression of interest on that. We engaged local manufacturers. As I've indicated, we look on their licenses as depending on the disease criteria that we have selected, which is HIV and tuberculosis. So we engaged depending on what they have in their licenses currently.
Okay, thanks. Just a question on the SAHPRA is, since it's indicated that the regulatory impact assessment be done on the revised regs from August 2023, when can we anticipate the finalization? Oh, I just see Kanye has just responded. We cannot provide a timeline as it involves the presidency unit and other stakeholders, and that's correct. We've just embarked on the process for medical devices and for complementary medicines. And I see there was a question as well directed to me for complementary medicine. The process is quite new to SAHPRA and the stakeholders. And I think the question was which unit will be managing the SAHPRA. It's a multi-stakeholders within SAHPRA. There's multiple of us involved, and as CRO, I will have oversight. The CEO also has final oversight of these processes. So we have the legal teams and we have the technical teams involved in the process as well. Thank you. I think I'm just going to pause there on medical devices. Is Ms. Fafudi on the call as yet? Ntokozo?
No, doesn't seem as though she is.
Not yet. Okay. Is Mr. Bongani in Gopo?
Let me just, I'll just go check on her because I'm close to her. So in the meantime,
No
when
problem.
Right.
And then Bongani?
Bongani and Makharia in the same meeting.
Oh, yes, okay.
But I had indicated that we will call him when it is time to present. Thanks.
Okay, no problem.
I'm available.
Oh, here we go. Thank you, Daphne Fafudi. Please go ahead on the update on your section for the pilot for the national plan, substandard and falsified medicines, the hot off the press, because I know you're currently in that meeting. Thank you, Daphne. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, CRO, and good morning, everyone. I'm gonna just quickly display my slides. Thank you for this opportunity. So with regards to the WHO pilot on South Africa, on the draft handbook, on the, oh, just one moment. Let me just ask the colleagues to.
Daphne, you're muted. Are you checking on something?
Apologies, CRO. There's noise in the room now. I'm on my headphones. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. If you can just project your screen again, please. We lost your here we go. If you can put it on presentation mode, and then we're good to go.
Thank you so much. Apologies for that. Okay, let's move the slides now. Okay, now I can move the slides. I'm so sorry. Okay, so my slides are not moving. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll just speak through them.
You remove it off presentation mode. Let's see.
Okay, thank you. Let's do that. Okay, so the current pilot of South Africa WHO on the National Action Plan for South Africa on fighting substandard and falsified medical products is currently going well, following the previous presentation that we have done, and quite a number of stakeholders were not able to even join today's meeting because we are also meeting as the technical working group, but a lot of members could not join because of this meeting coinciding, but we have a good attendance as well today. So you would remember that we have got 4 objectives relating to the WHO handbook on fighting substandards and falsified medical product. Those objectives of the pilot includes to provide countries with a framework and tools to develop their own national action plan to implement the prevention, detection, and response strategies. The second one being to provide guidance to the national regulatory authorities to leverage on competencies of relevant stakeholders, including policymakers, procurers, distributors, practitioners, patients, and consumers, with a third objective being to promote good governance and collaboration among those stakeholders with interest in the topic, who are responsible for regulatory oversight and participate in combating substandard and falsified medical products. And the last one, to assist the national regulators to be a stable, integrated, and well-functioning regulatory system, particularly with regards to the market surveillance and control activities and regulatory inspections. And with this, where are we with regards to the pilot? And you remember this is a year-long pilot, and the determinants of success being political leadership, stakeholder partnership, investment, being very key. And these 3 strategies of, we call them the PDR strategies, which is prevention, detection, and response. We need to ensure that we meet the demand of quality, safety, and efficacious medical supplies to the public, and we need to ensure that we secure the medical product supply to prevent the proliferation of substandard and falsified medical products. And we also need to ensure that with regards to detection, currently globally we are not doing well. We need to improve in terms of our detection technologies, our detection strategies, methods. We import a lot of medicines. How do we improve on detection? And how do we increase our reporting of this? Because we know currently that not everyone knows how to report and also us as well in terms of reporting to the GSMS and other establishment. We don't do as we need to. And with regards to responding to this, how do we protect the public? How do we then prevent further recurrence? With regards to the stakeholders, it's we have a good coverage of stakeholders, good attendance as well, and good contribution. We currently have a draft national action plan, which we are presenting it today to the stakeholders who are here. We will circulate the advanced draft later before our launch. And these are the stakeholders that currently participate. There hasn't been formal appointment, but there has been support from both government and non-government sector with regards to this, because with interministerial level programs, there are interdependencies and the response of departments vary, but fortunately the attendees have been nominated and seconded by their principals. So that is why we have gone as far as where we are. We have developed tours and adopted tours, and we have been meeting. These are some of the meetings on almost every month meeting since, and to date, we will be, as I said, today we are presenting our draft to the team that is here and our draft operational plan. And then we are preparing for the launch of the National Action Plan via our minister on the 30th of September. And following this, in August, the WHO member state mechanism on substandard and falsified medical product has, in their meeting, South Africa presented on the status of our national action plan pilot. And because we are chairing the WHO member state working group on governance, we following our presentation, the chair and the steering committee resolved that the progress that South Africa has made is so good, and also they were very happy with the progress that we gave, and they requested that South Africa in November at the 14th meeting of the member state mechanism, South Africa present on the in plenary regarding the National Action Plan and launch. So this is very exciting what we have started and the progress that we are at. So, and as you remember, this is going to be the National Action Plan that we have developed. Now it will be ready for implementation, meaning that our job actually is beginning now. So, and because there are prioritized activities, those prioritized activities, and there has been some interim costing that has been done. So we would therefore need to really work together to ensure that there is implementation on our part on that draft plan. So so those are the update, colleagues. And for those who are members of our establishment, we request that on the 30th of September, please help us to spread the news, and also please be present. We will, we are still waiting for the response from the ministry. So, and also from WHO with where this will be and the details as well. But those are the updates relating to the National Action Plan on Fighting Substandards and Falsified. I just want to thank all the role players in this very important establishment, to say we really appreciate. We don't believe where we are already at, but because of your support, we look forward to even implementing the the actual plan following ratification by the members and our principals. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fafudi, on the update on the NAP. I think just one question maybe related to falsified is how will SAHPRA support the prevention of falsified medicines being sold on the website?
What is interesting is that we are on our draft national action plan. It is one of the key activities that was identified as that we need to put it on the plan as one of the priorities. And there are some engagements within SAHPRA regarding the some of the AI tools to be put on some of the SAHPRA key projects. So we are engaging on that, and we hope that within 3 months we will be having a draft to present to let you know what are the how we will be approaching this. But we are looking into this matter because it is a concern. At the moment, we don't have capacity, but we have a plan on how we would like to address that.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Fafudi. I don't see any other questions for you as of now, so thank you for that. I think is Mr. Ngobo on the call. Can we get into the legal aspect, please?
Chair, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good morning. Sorry, yes, Chair, I am on the call.
Thank you very much. I think there was just an update required on Regulation 42, the amendments to regulations for the additional ports of entry and the local manufacturing policy. I can answer some of it, but you can answer and I can top up.
Okay, no, thanks. Thanks, Chair. Once again, good morning, colleagues. With regard to local manufacturing policy, the policy has been finalized. It's with our comms unit for publication. And with regard to amendment of ports of entry, to add more ports of entry, the Department of Health has published the amendment for public comments. I think it was published on the, 28th of July, if I'm not mistaken. And Regulation 42 is still being processed with the department and that one, so there's no development in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any questions for you, but in the meantime, I think the next item there was just on the variations or the guidelines update. Industry can just be aware that the borderline guideline is in circulation within SAHPRA. It's been approved internally for publication. Our media should publish by tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. It will be published for a 1-month comment period. That's the borderline guideline. The reliance guideline, there was a minor change, so there was no comment period needed on that. And the variations guideline, as mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, that will be published at the beginning of September with a 1-month comment period. Let me check if there's any questions for you. I think there's one. Is the draft regulation for removal of Afrikaans as a second language on the leaflet still being considered? Bongani?
I think that's for the technical team.
Yeah.
Either
I'm not sure
or Mahlodi. I'm not sure if they're here.
Luleka is here.
Sorry, Chair, I didn't get the question.
Is the draft regulation for removal of Afrikaans as a second language on the leaflet still being considered?
Yeah, we discussed it from the previous discussions that we've had. I think we had it was supposed to go to legal post us making the inputs that we made on the regulations, but it was being handled by Mahlodi, so I'm not quite sure how far she is in terms of sending it back to the legal team.
I'm not sure if Mahlodi's on this call, but otherwise, Luleka, you and I can take this offline to Mahlodi and we can give this feedback via the working group. Mahlodi, you are here. Please go ahead. Oh, I suppose you can't unmute because you're sitting on a different. Mahlodi, maybe you can please
she
comment
can.
on. She
Now
can.
she
Okay,
can.
go ahead. Go ahead, Mahlodi.
Thank you. Sorry, I
There.
was struggling to unmute. Yes, as Luleka has indicated, we did look at the documents and then I think we did submit to the Office of Legal just for them to see that we've captured the comments correctly so that we can submit them to NDOH for finalization.
Okay, thank you, Mahlodi.
Yes.
And I think, Bongani, on the Regulation 42, there's a question here. In terms of Reg 42, what is the update in terms of the relaxation thereof in terms of Schedule 2 advertising? Is this included in your comment? I'm not sure if you can give any feedback on that.
Chair, I think this is for NNS as well.
Yeah, I
As
think it's a
well.
technical question. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if Asia is here. No, I don't see her here. Okay, I'll make a note on this one. And see, the question is from Nicola, and I can just come back to you on it. Just make a note. Ntokozo, I think, or Mukona, I think our agenda is actually concluded on those who were meant to present, and now we can continue into questions. Am I correct?
Yes, Chair.
I'm just gonna share it so I can be sure. Excuse me. I think this part, I don't recall us touching on this one, but we'll hear from you, Chair. Thank you.
I think CEO just spoke in general on the fees, and there were questions on the fees from applicants on the Q&A. So there's nothing further. CEO is not here in any case.
Okay, then we are on item 11. Thank you.
We are okay. Dr. Tumi, I see there's a few questions. I do want to address some of the inspectorate questions. Can I just go through some of them for 5 minutes, and then I know you usually open the floor. Is that in order with you?
Yeah, please do so.
Okay. So, Sam, just give me an indication that you are here.
I am here, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, there's a question here. Second time I see it's coming up. Please advise when the inspectorate unit plans to roll out or schedule PV inspections for applicants.
We only started doing PV inspections, I think 2024. So what we're doing, we're just going through the list so that we can see that we can cover everybody. I think we are having about 224 applicants. So we're just going through them sequential, but in the review, we're gonna revise that. We're gonna have a rerouting in 3 years.
I didn't get the last part. Sorry, Samu.
In the review, we'll have a review of the inspection after 3 years, once we've inspected them. Normally, all the applicants were not inspected, so that makes everybody high risk. So we have to attend to everybody. That's what we're trying to do now.
Okay. Thank you. And then Aluleka, I'm just going from the top down, but there's a question directed for you. If you can just handle it in the chat. There was a question or a comment here from Anton Kutsia that I'm assuming need to include SABS, SANAS NRCS, and ITAC in the stakeholder forum. I think this is the request to have those associations or entities included in the stakeholder forum. Maybe I'll leave that for Dr. Tumi to respond when we hand over. Sorry, I'm going down while my computer's slow.
Just repeat that question again. Sorry, there's many questions. I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
I'm scrolling from top down. A question from Anton Kutsia. Need to include the SAMS, SANAS, NRCS, and ITAC in the stakeholder forum. I'm assuming the individual is asking that this be opened up to RTF. Anton Kutsia, if you can just clarify your question, and we'll catch it at the top so CEO can maybe elaborate or comment on that. Okay. And then we will just continue on the inspectorate. There were questions on have the bulk email addresses from the inspectorate presentation uploaded on the website. We will get the contact lists updated. I see there was another question on contact lists. We will get that updated via my office, via Dr. Khonsi. We'll make sure that the contacts are all in order. Will Inspectorate consider reviewing the GMP certificates on the RRA countryside specifically where they are expired in the dossier? Look, this question seems copied and pasted from below because it's cut off. But Samu, can you answer that part already?
Yes.
Will Inspectorate consider review?
I could not understand the question because I tried to answer it. Because of now, with the RRI, the national regulatory authorities outside of South Africa, the ones that will be issuing GMP certificate. So what I'm saying, must we review those certificate or what? I didn't understand what is it, how I needed to answer the question.
Okay, we see the hand is raised. So when we open the floor, Geeta Singh can just elaborate. Question from Ronel on the biological unit and bundling, the response time, and is there specific mailbox? Biologicals is not here at the moment. Can I ask that you send your specific request to the unit manager and CC in then the senior manager, Ms. Pariachi. So unit manager Kamusi Mutoti, and then the senior manager can be in copy. So we can just follow through with your query. I'm going down. Pratibha, can Z codes be added to the portal? Are you able to answer that question?
Sure, I can. So we had communicated to industry, I think around the end of June, that applicants are to communicate with the specific units for the approval of the Z code. So the units will then provide that actual specific Z code related to that change. The portal was then supposed to add that Z code in, and I think that is the gap in the communication. So this has been raised to the COO. She is aware of it, and I know the queries are coming through, but via email and not on the consolidated query list. So it is also being lost in communication, and I'm also struggling to hold on to those queries because there are just so many. What I will ask again is maybe just send me queries related to Z code only, and I will take that up with portal.data as well as Christiana. It needs to be handled on a case-by-case basis for each applicant. And the portal developers are meant to be adding it into the portal. I hope that helps.
Okay. I think you've given industry some guidance there that they can reach out to you on that in the interim. Thanks. And I think there's another question here on 1Bs and inspectorate variations, quality and inspectorate that are implemented after 67 days. The impact is obviously on stock. due to the new requirement to submit quality variations first and await approval before submitting to Inspectorate. I've seen a few comments on this. I see it further down when we started the meeting. I see Surya has commented to say that we are discussing this internally. I will take this up with the team so that we can give industry feedback on this item. It is a valid concern on the timelines, and this one I will specifically look at. I think, CEO, I'm going to pause there. If you would like to take over the question from Anton, and then I see there's hands already. Would you like
Sure,
to
let
take
me
over?
address
Thank
that question. So no, we can't include them here because this platform is for the industry that we regulate. We do have other meetings with those stakeholders as a regulator. So, you know, for medical devices, there's platforms and meetings that we have with the Bureau of Standards, etc. So unless if there's a specific matter that you want all three of us to address, I would say then write to us on that matter. We will then have a meeting with them. But this meeting is for industry. Okay. And then I see hands from Rishantha, Puti, and Geeta, please, in that order. Are they unmuted, Ntokozo?
Yes, but Rishanta lowered his or her hand, so Puti would be next.
Okay, go ahead, please, Puti. Looks like they're not unmuted on our side, Ntokozo.
They are. They just need to unmute on their side.
Can you unmute Puti and ask your question, please?
Morning, how are you?
We're good. Please go ahead.
Okay. Just to ask regarding the TOA acquiring, we are unable to proceed with the submission so far, as the product is not reflecting or appearing on our company portfolio. So maybe we can get someone to assist with this procedure, please. That's the first question. And then the second question is, when the trigger file has failed, how long does it take for SAHPRA to allow us to do a resubmission and confirm FTP upload on the portal? And then the third question is regarding the type 2 proprietary name change. The government gazette does indicate that the amount for the proprietary name change is 3,400. However, on the portal, when we generate the invoice, it gives us an amount of 4,600 rand. So we're not sure which way to go with that one.
All right. Can I ask that you email Pratibha and then the team will look at it, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pratibha, you can then share it to, I don't know who would be the relevant person. Okay, Geeta,
Sure.
please.
Thank you, CEO. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So I have two questions. The first one is to Inspectorate, and I know there's a huge backlog on the Inspectorate side. So just wanted to find out if those queries are related to the GMP certificate being expired. Would the Inspectorate consider reviewing the recognized regulatory authority site where the GMPs, especially where the application is going through Reliance, and that maybe could help with alleviating the backlog? So that's the first question. The second one is more of, I have put it in the chat, and Surya did ask that I comment on it in the variations guideline, but I thought I just wanted to verbalize it here. So in the EU, they have group type 1A variations to be submitted on an annual basis. And where our applications in South Africa is going through Reliance, so we actually have to do the declaration of sameness. We also have to, make sure our dossier is aligned with the recognized regulatory authority. So once they make that submission on an annual basis, then, we will have to follow. There needs to be some sort of consideration for us to align with the RRA. And I will put that comment in the variations guideline, but just wanted to articulate it here. So maybe if Inspectorate can just answer my first question, would really appreciate it. Thanks.
Through you, Chair. Thank you very much. Yes, we actually, most of our applications, about 95%, we do reliance. So Inspectorate will consider doing reliance on that application.
Are you adequately addressed, Gita?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank
CEO.
you. All right, so we'll then take the next round. I see Nkululeko, Covelin, and Komeshni in that order, please.
Does SAHPRA have any initial timings about when that process is going to be concluded internally and when it looks to start?
We're battling to hear you, Nkululeko. Try again,
Sorry,
please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, apologies for that, CEO. Thank you once again, and thank you to everyone. I think my question is related to the SAYAs that Dr. Tembu was referring to, and I just want to understand the possible timings in terms of the internal process for the SAYAs, and when the regulator is thinking it may start having the external engagements. So that's what I wanted to check.
Sure, if I could respond to that. So we've kickstarted the process of what we can do internally. We're now handing over then to the presidency to do the rest, which I'm assuming would also involve external stakeholders. So that's where we are. Thank you. Yes, let's proceed, please. Covelin, then Komeshni.
My question on the borderline guideline that's going to be published shortly for comment. Are we able to publish that guideline without CAMS and medical device amended regulations in place? Because I would assume the borderline guideline will span across different categories of medicines. Thank you.
Okay, I will ask Tammy maybe to comment on that and anyone else who was working on that guideline. Komeshni.
Thank you, Dr. Smeti. So I just want to revisit the bundling of variations. Christelna did give us an answer that this was implemented in 2021 already. However, can we maybe take into consideration, since the variations guideline is under review, that under the bundling or grouping, we limit the number of variations, whether it's 5 or 10, because that will then prior to approval, that will then give the unit an indication of the amount of work that is coming that way. Because at the moment, for every grouped variation, it requires an approval from the unit. And that is leading to an admin burden, both, I think, on industry side as well as on SAHPRA side. So is there a mechanism of us limiting that admin burden and proceeding with bundle variations? Because a lot of the times they're related and cannot be unbundled. That's the first comment. And then the second one was just to query whether the application windows for type 2 for the pilot is still going to go ahead in October.
Yeah, so I think in the communication that we issued, we did indicate, provided clarity how the bundling is done and the fees is done. And we said when we then publish the next round of fees, we will detail that in that submission. So do you mind if we then have that discussion at that point? Because at the moment we're saying we're applying the current approach.
That's fine. If we just can take it into consideration from a more long-term perspective. Thank you.
Sure. And you can raise this again, please, in future when we discuss those variations. Then, Tammy, do you want to talk about the guidelines?
Yes.
Yes, Chair. So on that, we are publishing the guideline for comment. So Kovilan, thanks for the question. I will just have an internal discussion, but I would like you then to also make that comment in the 1 month period. Thanks. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Then we've got 2 hands. Kayleen and Jermaine, please.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to check. The last unit requested the PI and PIL prior to receiving registration of our product. So I just wanted to see what process is to be followed because we've submitted the response via the FTP server. However, it's not appearing on the portal. We just wanted to check if our response is being evaluated by the clinical team.
I'm not sure if Matlodi can respond to that, or if you could write maybe to her with more details. Matlodi, do you want to handle that?
Thanks, CEO. I think it's better if we get that on email with an application, but it must come through HPA so that they can check if we have received the response and it's allocated to the unit. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's proceed.
Thank you, Chair, and hi, everyone. My question is actually regarding the licensing issue. I know that SAHPRA's stance at the moment is that you cannot store raw materials and finished products under the same under the same roof or the same facility. And then regarding your the listing of products or raw materials that are being imported into the country, for companies doing that, is the timeline on when that list is going to be active again? Because I know it's currently not in place. And with exports, is a similar process in place, or is the export listing still an active tool that is being used? Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy, will you handle it, or Jerry and someone will step in and assist? So just think about that while we take a question from Amrit, and then we'll hand over to you guys to answer. Amrit, you are muted, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, everyone. My question is related to the GMP certification for the manufacturing side for API as well as intermediate. Just wanted to know if SAHPRA would continue to accept the GMP certification from country of manufacturing from the National Competent Authority, or in that cases, the RRA certification is mandatory. Or if that's not available, will SAHPRA prefer to conduct the desktop or the physical audit? Thank you.
I think I can answer that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. We normally would accept the GMP certificate from those countries that SAHPRA is recognizing them, that we are working together with them. However, if it is not possible to have it from the recognized regulatory authority, then SAHPRA will require to come and perform an inspection.
Okay, thank you for that. And then Tammy.
Thanks, Chair. I see Jerry's here. Jerry, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sierra. I'll respond on the list for imported APIs. We have been engaging extensively with the license holders. I'm not sure if the person who posed this question is a license holder or just a stakeholder from those licensed facilities. But in the list, yes, we were causing a whole lot of delay in approving the list, and the list was not being followed by the license holders. Hence, we have temporarily suspended it until further notice, to enable the importer to treat each consignment independently to ensure that each consignment is compliant with the license conditions and any other legislative requirements. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Colleagues, if you are not satisfied with the responses, please raise your hand and we can come back to it. We'll take Yemurai, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question regarding applications that were submitted prior to submission portal go live that require approval from Inspectorate. We have an ongoing query and the Inspectorate team have asked us to contact portal support to try and generate a variation summary from the portal. So I have a two-pronged question. Firstly, is the portal able to generate variation summaries for applications that were imported? And secondly, will these variation summaries then be acceptable as Inspectorate approval for variations like site changes?
Okay. Tammy, you'll advise me who will address that. But in the meantime, let's take Tashnin as some of the things about that, and Sayuri, please.
Hi, Chair. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure this question has been answered, but just for products that are currently under registration, whereby all units have been approved, just want to find out if we haven't received the request for a closing sequence, is it possible for us to preempt that response and then submit a closing sequence just in order to expedite the registration?
Okay, thank you, Tammy. And then let's take Pratibha will take that one, and Sayuri, please. Then we'll have Samu, Pratibha. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, CEO. This is a repeat question. I think someone asked in the Q&A. Christelna did briefly respond, and it's related to resolution on the engagement portal queries. So the health checker has been helping us to some extent, and we've been following the requested query process by sending consolidated queries via our responsible pharmacist. But a lot of our queries are still unresolved. Christelna did ask that we continue with the consolidated requests, but is there any chance of a Teams meeting or an alternate resolution, seeing as the existing processes haven't been, moving as efficiently as we would have liked?
Yeah, that's going to be tough for us to address in Christelna's absence. Can I ask that Tammy and Pratibha, let's discuss this proposal with Christelna when she's back. And then over to you, Tammy, Pratibha, and Samuel.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I think just to answer Sayuri, I think Christelna acknowledged the delays with the portal support, and with the new staff member on the application support specialist, they're hoping to resolve all queries in the next few weeks, Sayuri. Christelna did mention that. I'll hand over to Pratibha if she wants to add on my question and then take Tashin's response, and then after Samu. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Tammy. Just to add on, so this is with regards to Sayuri. Communication, I think dated 14th of July, does indicate that you can request a Teams meeting, but it has to go via portal.data, right? So please do that, and the portal.data team will reach out to you thereafter if the meeting is required or not. So that's the first one. So Tashin, we're very transparent on the health status checker. When the units are all complete, that will be indicated to the applicant. However, that's not the end of the process. We then go into an administrative process at SAHPRA, wherein all the units meet together to actually confirm the approval for that particular product, and thereafter it goes into a registration certificate process. At that stage, you will hear from new registrations who will then ask you for the closing sequence as well as the fee payment that will be required for the issuance of that registration certificate. So just to be a bit patient, it takes around 4 weeks after you see what you are seeing on the health status checker.
So do not preempt and go in and do the closing sequence without us asking for it. Thanks.
Well noted. Thanks, Prachi.
Thank you, Chair. I think when we are going to publish the emails from the inspectorate that I've shared today, we'll also provide for variation. If this the applicant can send the information detailed, then I can follow it up. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, great. Colleagues, I see we only have a minute left for this meeting. I think it's certainly been a fruitful meeting. I note that, you know, a lot of the questions earlier were around the portal. We are discussing that. We did have a meeting with ITG, and as Christelna and Tammy mentioned, we've brought in additional capacity. So we do hope that at some point we will stabilize. And so, yeah, please do bear with us. Where there are company-specific issues, please do let us know. And we will try our utmost, really, to make sure that we address the gaps. I'd just like to thank you then for attending this meeting, and we look forward to further engagements. Apologies, we're rushing the end because we are at the top of the hour. So I hope that you will all have a good day, and thank you for the feedback and the continuous engagement. Keep well, everyone. Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.